Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the LG G8 and see how this particular phone holds up in 2024. Now, the thing I would tell you probably for the everyday person out there is that the LG G8 probably is not worth buying in any capacity at all. These phones were good when they first came out, but I probably would not recommend anyone to buy them anymore. So if you want to pick up some phones that I would recommend buying in this day and age, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the LG G8, the big thing you have to keep in mind here with this particular phone is that on the front, you were actually getting a pretty good display. It was a 6.1-inch P OLED display. It was 1440p. And it was a pretty good panel for the most part. That was something that was really nice that was going on for this type of, device, because you were able to go ahead and buy it. It didn't really cost too much money. And I think that was a really big advantage for this type of phone, was that, it was a fairly cheap device. You can buy it and you can kind of move on with your life. Now with this device, you were getting USB Type-C on the bottom. It was giving you a notch up top though, which was very strange because it was like a notch, but it was like kind of small, but it was like kind of in your way. So I don't really know what they were doing. I mean, this was a couple years after the iPhone 10, so it kind of makes sense that some companies were copying it, but still it was just one of those things that just kind of rubbed some people off the wrong way. And this is just another, situation of Apple kind of doing something like this. So that was that. And that was just another case of, LG doing something like this, not Apple. On the bottom, like I said, USB-C, you were still maintaining a microSD card slot inside of this phone though, which was very nice to have. And that was a really cool advantage of being able to buy a phone like this and having that, microSD card slot, which is really cool. You're getting these like curved sides a little bit. On the back side, you're getting this, glass back, which again was super nice to have. I'm super happy to have these types of glass backs. The camera setup on the back too, which was basically like a dual, kind of like a dual or triple camera, depending on which one you got. And that was kind of it. You were also maintaining things like wireless charging inside of this phone. Some things that this phone is missing out on though that a lot of modern phones have nowadays. One, you're missing out on like a hole punch display. This phone did not have it. You don't have any reverse wireless charging inside of this phone. No high refresh rate either, which could be kind of a downside for this device as well. So there are some downsides here and there for this type of device, but I will tell you for the most part, if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, this is a from an outside perspective, it's not bad, right? It still looks pretty good. And I do think that is a pretty decent advantage for buying a phone like this, that it does look this good. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. Now from the camera side, this thing was either giving you a triple or, dual camera setup. And with this one, you're getting a 12 megapixel standard and a 16 megapixel ultra-wide camera, or you're getting a 12, 16, 12 megapixel standard ultra-wide telephoto camera respectively. On the back, you're getting 4K at 60, which is nice to have. And on the front, you're getting 1080p at 60. So from that side in and of itself, I think that was like a really, really big thing because with this type of camera, it was good enough for the most part. I feel like if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, like this thing gets the job done for the most part. And when compared to some other cameras in 2019, it held up okay. But if you were going up a notch and you were comparing this thing against the Galaxies of that year, which were like the Galaxy S10s, the S10s were giving you substantially better cameras when it came down to it. So once again, although it's like not the biggest deal in the world, it is just one of those small things to kind of keep in mind there, that type of phone and that type of camera is going to be substantially better inside of something like the Galaxy S10 than the LG G8 at that time. So once again, just kind of keep that in mind there. But overall, what I'll tell you about the cameras here, very good stuff, not too much to complain about. And I'd probably say that the LG G8 is okay for this day and age, but definitely with a phone that, kind of came out more modern, it'll give you a better camera. On top of that, when it came down to the software, this phone is pretty much done getting software support, and it's been done getting software support for quite some time now. And that is kind of the disadvantage of this type of device. Like if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, well, it doesn't really make too much sense to buy a phone like this anymore because it's already done getting software update. Like this thing's been done since I think Android 10. So it doesn't make any sense at all to buy a phone like this. And I would hate for you to go ahead and buy a phone like this if it's already outdated with software. So that's kind of exactly what's going on here. And like I said, you're substantially just better off buying a phone that's still supported with software, something like the, like a Galaxy S10 or something like that. Even a Galaxy S10 is still more supported than this thing was. So once again, kind of keep that in mind. Not the biggest deal in the world, but just something to keep in mind there. From the performance side, this phone was giving you the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset inside with 6 gigabytes of RAM. And at that time, that chipset honestly was not too terrible. That was a fairly good chipset to have inside of a phone like this. So, that was the best one of that time. Now with, 6 gigabytes of RAM, that's great. But again, compared to the Galaxy S10 of that time, it was giving you a better, chipset, but still just one of those minor things to kind of keep in mind there. Now, if you still want to go ahead and use this thing on an everyday basis, I'm sure it's going to be okay. Like you're still going to be able to do whatever whatever you want to do on this type of phone, which is nice, but it's not going to be holding up that well against phones that have came out, of recent times. And that is kind of the problem that you're going to be getting, is that those types of phones are going to be giving you an overall better experience. So, and even with the lack of a higher refresh rate here, that's also going to be kind of a disadvantage for this type of device too, because it's just going to feel a little bit slower than more modern phones of this day and age. So overall, what I'll definitely tell you is, I think the LG G8 is a good phone, right? I think it was a good phone when it first came out, but it came out at a time where phones were just so much better than this thing, like the Galaxy S10, the Note 10, the iPhone 11 Pro that came out that year too. Those phones were substantially better than this one. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to buy a phone like this. You're so much better off, getting a phone that is, substantially better. And this thing, I don't think is that good of a phone anymore. It's done getting software support, and it makes zero sense to buy a phone like this anymore, in my personal opinion. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.